man noch rein. Okay, so hello everybody, online and in the space. um, uh, yeah, I'm really happy that I see you again at the end of the exhibition, not in person, but still quite clear actually. And I was just, I mean, the title of the exhibition also includes atmosphere. So I was also thinking about when you came here, it was in August and it was really warm and really super hot summer, and now it's cold and fall, and it has completely changed atmosphere. So to stay sort of in the picture a little bit, but anyway, I would like to start with asking you to introduce yourself so that everybody knows who is who, and then maybe start talking about the exhibition and go there a little bit more into the details. So who wants to start?
So I'm going to start. So my name is Felicity, and I live in Dublin, and I'm in my studio at the moment. So you can see it behind me, and it's in the middle of Temple Bar, which some of you may have heard of. It's a very famous part of Dublin for drinking. But so far, it's quite quiet outside. But as soon as it gets dark, it's going to be very dangerous for me to leave. So, well, it won't be dangerous, but I'll just be surrounded by some very jolly people. But so my work in the gallery is the work that relates to the weather station, which is in the courtyard and is spinning around. And there's a little monitor somewhere near Sybil there in the main gallery. And it's communicating the very local weather that's taking place in the courtyard, which has changed a lot since we were there, as Sybil was saying. I use this to make drawings, and the drawings that I made in this particular exhibition are the large installation in Gallery 1. Is that what we'll call it, Sybil? Is that the long, skinny gallery? Is gallery
the backspace, you mean?
The backspace.
Yeah. The
backspace. So it's the big installation in the backspace, which references meteorological diagrams. But in this instance, I also think that it reminds me of how wind would move through that space if it came flying through from the road and into the courtyard. So in that gallery that we're in now, the large hanging piece of tracing paper is also my work. And that is a work that I made in the west coast of Ireland, which is a very windy place. And it is a drawing I made from taking data from the weather station, which was up there as well, and also from the internet at different levels of the atmosphere. So the measurements from the weather station are very close to the ground. And then I took, in that particular drawing, data from just above the, about a kilometer above us, which would be where they take data for forecasting, and then also again higher up, different data from upper atmosphere where you see the polar jet. And I'm kind of imagining, I'm taking the data, but I'm really imagining what I think that those atmospheric dynamics look like. So it's part imagination and part science. And then in that gallery also, there are two digital prints that are black with green spots on them. And they are taken directly from information from the internet from a Bonn weather station. And the dots relate to wind speed and atmosphere. So I have kind of represented them as abstract drawings because they have been removed from their context, because you can't see exactly what they're measuring. So that's me. So I don't know who else is going to introduce themselves next.
I will. Hello, my name is Kiera O'Toole, and I'm here in Sligo, which is a beautiful place in the world in the northwest of Ireland. I'm covered in plaster because we're doing our house up, and so there's dust everywhere, so I might sneeze a lot. But my work is actually the small collages behind Sybil there. and the collages in the other gallery. And there's a newspaper there, which I'll talk about in a sec. And the small video just there on the corner. And my practice combines field work with material and philosophical research. And I create public art or ephemeral site-specific drawings, large-scale installations, and more recently I've started doing stop motion animation. And I make experimental documentations. And my aim is to record everyday atmospheres and their particular spatialized emotions. So these emotions are not dealing with like my private inner emotions, but they're spatialized feelings, spatialized emotions that evolve us and affect us deeply. And they affect us and how we operate in the world every day. And for me, this kind of reveals our entanglement about where we are. And this is why it's really important to consider the spaces and places in which we occupy, because it matters. So on the newspaper there, I pose a question. Where are you? How does it feel? And so the purpose of this question is to kind of direct the viewer or the reader towards their situation, towards their space that they are currently occupying. And so there's a newspaper and there's a sort of a mock interview with myself with I have the words DISP, D-I-S-P, but actually that's for drawing in space. And that is a self-devised methodology that I've developed through my PhD work, my research. And it's enabled me to be able to record these emotional spatialized feelings that is everywhere and anywhere we go. And in there, there's also a field guide for anyone who wants to try and do it themselves. So that's good crack. And the animation, the collages on the newspaper and the field guide are all to do with Altona, which is in Hamburg. But the small video and stop motion animation is the animation from Atmosphäre 1, which I'll talk about in a sec. Yeah, that's me for now.
Okay, great. I'll go next. My name is Mary-Ruth Walsh. I'm from Dublin originally, but I'm living in the southeast of Ireland, also known as the sunny southeast. But at the moment, I'm in a hotel in Dublin, so not so exciting, but in one sense. So I have my studio in New Ross as well, and I'm interested really in ideas relating to architecture and exploring the substance and material of architecture. And it's really looking at that, how architecture affects the way we move and behave. We build these spaces, and yet they may enhance how we move and behave, and they could also do the opposite. So I think sensing the atmosphere of buildings and of spaces that surround you is something sort of so vital to our everyday and to our sense of being. They all have their individual atmospheres as well, and they are intertwined, really. That and landscape are really intertwined in a very heightened sensorial way with ourselves. I think sometimes we feel it very strongly, and maybe sometimes not so strongly. So also materials. I'm really interested in the materiality of architecture and the politics of the materials, where they come from, who makes them, who mines them, how they're transported, how long do they last, all of these questions. One of the things as well that brought me back to the paintings that are in the gallery, and there are 3 small paintings on board, all sort of quite nice little sizes. I was just looking, they're the same size as wine boxes, a triple wine box, which I discovered, but they're actually on board, valid board, well primed. And it was really exciting for me because when I was in Hamburg with Kiera and Felicity, we were shopping in the fantastic German art shops. I can't remember the name of the one we were in, but it was really
Bossner.
Yeah. Thank you. It was really just eye-opening of the amount of materials that were available. Now, I've always painted, and I've been doing watercolors, pencils for a long time with drawing DeCentred and on my own during my own practice. So I thought to buy water mixable oils, and I was really encouraged by Felicity and Kiera. Why, I'm not sure, but it has been a real pleasure to engage again with this material, sort of buttery and soft, and it can do all sorts of lovely things. And it brought me to when I was in Dusseldorf and then in Bonn and in Ireland, looking at some of the vernacular architecture there, which sometimes I mix with other kind of utopian looking architecture, which is really plastic packages, which I'll come back to later. But I saw these petrol stations or garages, as you might call them in Germany. And I was really taken by some of them for various reasons. And it's really the politics of what they represent, and those huge tanks that will be underneath the petrol stations holding that petrol. It always seems quite bizarre in the middle of an urban area, but that's what we do. And I suppose I'm just interested in the connection between petroleum, oil, and plastics. So that sort of politics of material comes in very strongly, and that's why those paintings were made. And some of them I'm particularly taken because of they're really no longer in use, or they have the brand has collapsed, or the space is going to be taken over by apartment blocks or whatever. So they're quite transient in their presence, as it were.
Oh,
So now we lost Mary-Ruth. So I hope she will sort of find her way back in again. Maybe she has just a problem with the internet connection, so that's what can happen. Anyway, maybe in the time while she tries to reconnect and join the conversation again, she just mentioned also drawing DeCentred. So can maybe one of you refer to something, because that's actually I don't know, a form you gave yourself a little bit some years ago?
So myself and Mary-Ruth and Kiera are drawing DeCentred, an experimental drawing collective. And we encountered each other for the first time in 2016 when we went to a master class in Dublin with visiting artist Arno Kramer, who's from the Netherlands. And there were 6 of us. So we sat down, we all talked about drawing for the afternoon, showed each other's work, and by the end of it, we had decided to set up a drawing centre in Dublin, inspired by the Deppenheim Drawing Centre in the Netherlands. But our first problem was location, because we weren't all living in the same part of Ireland, and our second problem was property is very expensive in Ireland, both to rent or to buy, and more especially to run, because we have very crazy insurance situations. So it became very apparent very quickly that we didn't really want to own the space. It was too much responsibility. So we decided that drawing DeCentred would be nomadic and project-based. So we spent, we initially just set up an Instagram and a website, and our initial plan was to really promote contemporary drawing, both Irish and international artists. So we gathered artists whose work we thought were very interesting, and we promoted them on Instagram and on our website. And then in the early days, we also spoke a lot about structure and, you know, what we were going to do going forward, and trying to write kind of mission statements, this, that, and the other. After a couple of years, the other 3 people eventually fell away because they became just really due to family and career commitments. And that left the 3 of us, and we were kind of probably a bit closer in terms of drawing practice and what we were interested in. So maybe that was okay. And we were still kind of worried about maybe expanding, but in any case, we started doing projects at that point. And our first project was with a group of Dutch artists. And that was with Arno Kramer again and 3 Dutch artists. And we did two exhibitions in Ireland that were concentrated on expanded drawing practice. And at the same time, we project managed a book for these exhibitions. And the exhibitions were very successful in Ireland and quite visible. And that brought sort of drawing DeCentred into the public eye. So after that, we went on to apply as a collective for another residency and exhibition in the northwest of Ireland. And that was where we started with the theme of atmospheres, because at that point we realized there was a connection in our work that we could conceptualize around atmospheres. So then we became involved with Zeitgeist Ireland, which is a festival of Irish culture in Germany this year. And due to some support from them, we were able to research and find the fabulous ESSZIMMER gallery in Bonn and reach out to Sybil to see if she would be interested in working with us, and also to Fries in Hamburg. So I think at this stage we realized over time that what we really were interested in is maybe not being kind of a big rock solid thing in Ireland, but to be more nimble and to be more interested in doing projects with artists outside Ireland. And we're really also more interested in projects that are longer and more discursive. So rather than just showing up, having an exhibition, going away again, something where there is a bit of tea, a bit of time for conversation, a bit of time for maybe a little bit of a residency, and then hopefully also time to make future connections with artists outside Ireland. So that's where we are now, and we are happy enough to let things move along organically. We realize that there being only 3 of us, although it's kind of small, is very effective for decision making and for meetings. So we're not as worried about that now, because we realize there's a better way of doing this by meeting up with artists from outside Ireland and on project basis. And we since have a new artist joining us called Orla McCarty, and she's a fantastic experimental animator. She wasn't involved in this show because it had already started before she came to us. So we're very excited about doing projects with her going forward. And I would say that working in a collective is very efficient. It's easier to make applications when there's 3 of you working on it. We all have our separate skills, and it is less, I don't know whether this is true of Germany, I'm sure it's true of everywhere, but it can be a lonely business, constantly applying and getting rejected, etc. But when you're in a collective, first of all, it's not as hard work, and second of all, you don't take it as personally. So you have this kind of, okay, well, anyhow, that's all of us, and you can say, yes, we are a fantastic collective. You don't have to say, yes, I am a brilliant artist, and you need me, and then feel crushed when they don't. So there's that. And also we do have quite a lot of toing and froing, talking about drawing, talking about each other's practice, supporting each other's practice. Kiera's doing a PhD out of Loughborough University in the UK, so she has a good source of texts about drawing and drawing research that she can recommend to us. And we're all out and about seeing other work, so we can keep each other up. So it operates as quite a good support group as well. So I don't know whether Kiera and Mary-Ruth want to come in on this, or if there's anything you know about it.
Well, first of all, it's nice that Mary-Ruth is back.
Back in the team, yeah, great.
And so we in the meantime, as you realized, Felicity sort of was talking about this drawing DeCentred, this form, this that you created. So you were sort of dropping out a little bit in the middle of your sentence. So can you find your way back in, or shall we just move?
I think we'll move on, because I can come back to it again. I think we'll move on because it'll be too choppy otherwise.
Okay. Just 1 or 2 sentences to what you just said, Felicity. I think joining forces as artists and forming a group or a collective, however you want to call it. I think it's one of the strategies that helps to become resilient as artists in let's say not so easy work situations, and the first half year of this exhibition year in 2024, actually all exhibitions were a little bit dedicated to different kind of concepts and methods artists apply to establish resilient structures. So you would have also well fitted into this kind of theme. Yeah, and of course they all all share the same things you just mentioned, that it's sort of easier to apply for grants. You're not alone. You can share energy and forces, because when one person has to do everything, then it can be really overwhelming and consumes a lot of time. And when you can share things, or also sometimes one person is better in writing than another one, and so this really helps, and also the exchange. It's not easy to get all this kind of exchange and conversations organized and done. So that's a great form. And this, I mean, you're sort of 3 now, you expanded in 4, as I just learned. So, but of course that can also become larger and smaller, project based. So that's
exactly
as others are like a sort of a similar artist collective from Quebec, from Canada. They also have like a core of people who sort of are always involved, let's put it that way, but then they also expand for larger projects or for special things, or invite particular people to do something together. So I think that's a really nice, good form. So it's and the space situation, yes, I mean it's everywhere the same. I mean it's space is really, it's important to show, to present things, but at the same time it's very precious, and it's extremely expensive, and yeah.
I think you would end up just working to support the building, which is, you know, there would be very little time for creativity left, because you would be having to work so hard to raise funds to keep the building open.
Right.
Which I see a lot. I see a lot, you know, around here in Temple Bar. There's quite a few, and they spend an awful lot of time raising public and private funding. It's just it's a full-time job, really. It becomes its own.
Becomes,
I hear you, she says.
yeah. Could I jump in? Could I jump in there, just when you're talking about spaces and time as well, and that, and that's what I think really about the importance of the residency that we went to in Bonn. As you say, it was beautiful, warm weather. We walked through the courtyard, picked figs. Kiera cooked them beautifully with some goat's cheese and some balsamic vinegar with honey. So mouth-watering stuff. But I think really, you know, for me, residencies, and I don't know, you guys, certainly I'd love to hear your sensibility as well, but going somewhere new, it really heightens your senses, your observation, and luckily you meet new people, and you maybe develop new projects, and, you know, all of those lovely upswings from it. But I think, however, for me, it's as well, some of the more important parts are the researching and debating that go on with us as a group, over coffee, over a glass of wine after a day in the studio. Also in the studio, which is kind of, this is part, you know, having this group has been really eye-opening, and really, as you say, Felicity, very supportive. And watching each other work in the studio, this is quite exceptional, I think, for me to see. Not since student days have you seen sort of ideas develop and are realized sometimes into final projects. It's exciting, and I think it's a privilege to be in that space working with others. I think even though our working methods are very different, we learn a great deal from each other. And I've noticed that more and more our ability to discuss aspects of each other's work is almost happening in an organic way. And it's a really tricky area because everyone's practice is so particular to them. And you may or may not notice or see someone going in a direction, but you may or may not understand. You may have really preferred their previous work, and they may be going somewhere very exciting, or maybe just experimenting. So we still seem to be able to have this wonderful honesty, and yet allow it to happen in an organic way. So to me, that's that's something that's quite special, and I think really valuable. I don't know what you guys think of that, but anyhow, that's for me, that's great.
It's getting more relaxed.
Yeah.
Like in Ireland, you would be very slow to comment on another artist's work. We're quite as regard in that regard. So we're getting a lot more confident about that now. And I don't know whether I made it clear that we don't live together in Ireland. We all live in different parts of Ireland. So we only actually spend time with each other on residencies.
Yeah.
It's a real pleasure to not be always constantly hopping on and off Zoom. I think another thing is that I'm sure this is true in Germany as well, but artists tend to have several jobs and are extremely so unless you actually make a time like in a residency or something, you're always running in and out of the studio, between jobs and families and whatever, so it's very special to have time for yourself in a residency, but also to be able to hang out ad hoc with each other rather in a more formal way.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we were really lucky, and we were delighted with the really experienced, the residency with you, Sybil, because you have a very, very experienced and really beautiful proven track record with ESSZIMMER, and to have Zeitgeist Ireland awarding us that time as well was and the space, as you say, Felicity, to be able to be on our own, but also to be able to work with each other. So between being able to go to Bonn and Hamburg, it's been very special, a really positive experience. And I think something happens to your work when you're away on a residency, when you have that time, disengages, you're saying, from the normal pull and push, toing and froing of life, which just is it takes your engagement away from the main area. So that space and time is invaluable. And we also, it's not just with us, we also get a chance to see the city, see other artists work. And it may not always be exhibitions we can go to museums, history museums, whatever. And these all are very informative. And it's just great to see what's going on in other parts of the world. I think it's particularly when we're living in a small island, hanging off the edge of Europe. I think it's nice and very, very important to get out. So I think Zeitgeist Ireland was a brilliant idea. And I saw it first with Candy Gordon, who is the Irish ambassador in Berlin. She's the cultural ambassador. She used to be a singer, so look her up. She's a very interesting woman. And so she was actually speaking to a fantastic friend of mine, Anja van Gosselin, who is I think she'll allow me to say it, she's an 87-year-old curator who lives now in Ireland. She used to run amazing galleries in Germany, and she mooted this idea to Candice Gordon, who I think took it up and has run with it. So it's only a one-off. It's only 2024, and it's really, I think, has been very good to us. So that's where I'm at the minute.
So just for some explanation for some people who might not sort of bring things together, as an explanation. So you did not just came here for setting up the exhibition, but you came here 2-3 weeks ahead of the opening and were actually working here and developing the exhibition, developing new work. So that's what you're referring to as residency, like a short working residency, let's put it that way. And the Zeitgeist Ireland is like the huge frame. We are really happy and proud and extremely honored to be part of this initiative who put a lot of effort and strength in bringing Irish artists and cultural workers to Germany and to actually connect them with each other, because I think you're the first Irish artist I met and know. I have to say it's really bad, actually, but it also reflects in a certain way that despite the fact that we're sort of all part of Europe, and that well, traveling times are not so extremely long. I mean, I don't know, it's a 1-hour flight to Dublin, something like that. But art-wise, it's far away from each other. There are not a lot of connections, and it's not only true for Ireland, it also is true for Sweden or France or for the Netherlands or for other countries. It's not so easy to get this kind of international exchanges going on, because it's a question of money in the end. So it's really great to have this initiatives who are putting this kind of works and networks forward, because I think now where we work together and we met each other, I'm sure there will be a continuation of this kind of collaboration in one way or the other.
Yeah,
so
you have already shown together since.
Yeah, that's true.
That was unexpected.
That's true.
That was very unexpected. Yeah, another show came out of this completely. Yeah, very
But
quick.
So
Mary-Ruth,
this
yeah.
is, I mean, it's I think a lot of people just take it for granted that it's so easy, but it's actually not easy. It's something very special, and it's something really hard to make it happen in both ways. And yeah, and the importance of residencies, I think you all pointed it out very well, and it creates this amount of really density, and brings things together in a certain amount of time, and is very intense. I mean, it would be not possible to have this kind of intensity for like the whole year or for a long time, but to have it in like for a couple of weeks or a month or maybe even 2 months, it's very important for the work, for the personal work, for the collaborative work, for exchange, and to develop new things, to also try new things, and yeah, to connect with each other, and make friends and other places, and from which other things evolve. So that's also my experience, that from all my residencies I had as an artist or in the frame with the space, further projects happened afterwards. Because you know each other, you know how you're sort of working, and you automatically start to think about each other. And when you are confronted with something, you think of, that might be something to do with this or this person or at this place. So that's it's this kind of also organic growing of work relationships and networks in the end. That's
true.
Very true.
So, but I think now we sort of talked a lot about also about the structures, and I actually would like to come back to your very nice exhibition. So and to bring up the title again, Condition, Matter, Effect, Atmospheres 2. So that also implies that there was a atmosphere 1, and that there will be an atmosphere 3.
Yeah.
So maybe you can share a little bit what it's about with the title and with numbers, and what the ideas and the concepts behind this.
Okay, so what I'll take that one if that's okay. So I'm going to actually show you some images from the first Atmosphäre one, just to give context to that exhibition there as well.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
if that's okay, hold on one
So you
moment.
tried it before, so it should work.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, can we see this?
Yeah, lovely.
Excellent. So yes, as you rightly said, there was Atmosphäre 1 and Atmosphäre 2 is in Bonn, and Atmosphäre 3 will be in Hamburg in February. And this is Atmosphäre 1, and it's in the Leitrim Sculpture Centre in Manor Hamilton, which is a small bonkers village with great pubs in the northwest of Ireland. And the work you see there on the back on the wall was kind of like a research wall, and then the sculptural paper thing was this local school that we worked with. They responded to our exhibition, and this is what they responded with. And so in these 3 exhibitions, we are exploring, I guess, the potentiality of the concept of atmospheres. And we're doing this from multiple perspectives, i.e. matter, effect, and condition. And we do it through experimental and expanded fields of drawing. So not that we had a hard line who was doing condition, who was doing matter, and who was doing effect, but it kind of just devised or came from looking at our own work, and there's so many crossovers anyway, but loosely we could sort of talk about it. This is Mary-Ruth's work. The 2 drawings in the back are Felicity's, and I'll talk about that in a second. The work here in front of you, so Mary-Ruth, as she talked about earlier on, she explores material substance of architecture and how this affects how we move and behave, and how we have a heightened sensorial engagement with specific spaces. She uses the language of architecture and urbanism to explore politics of materials, and here you can see these modern plastics that we use, and she makes them into these most glamorous, beautiful, seductive objects that even when you're looking at them up close, it's hard to believe they're these plastic containers that we deal with every day. She presents them so beautifully. But I think I'll show you another image in a second. But this image, this down here, is a bat. I just love this bat. It's one of my favorite things in the exhibition.
See it, Kiera. Actually, we can't see it.
Sorry?
The slide didn't move on.
Oh no, sorry, no. I'm just pointing to it. It's in there in the back.
I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that came from Mary-Ruth's house, and I just love that.
A Pipsarella bat, and just a disclaimer: it was mummified and found in the attic, so we didn't do it in.
We didn't rob a bat. And she, I do have that's Felicity. So she also with these architectural spaces, and these which are always sort of commercial or transient non-spaces. So they're sort of like airports and shopping centres and petrol stations, as you can see from the exhibition there. And she realizes these in various different forms, and drawing and painting and collage and filmmaking, installation. There's nothing she can't do, really. This is Felicity's work, and it kind of echoes the work that she's doing now at the moment, but you can see that it's actually very different as well, because it's recording something that is a wind from a different space. So Felicity, I guess, looks through more the lens of condition in which we live, specifically focusing on the wind and how we experience it. And she makes these, like, as you can see in the space there in Bonn, and this one here, these large scale drawing installations. And she kind of invites, I guess, a more immersive experience in her work. And these works are all shaped and informed by local atmospheric weather. And the weather is the live weather data is collected from her personal weather station, and she had one here in Manorhamilton, and she installed it in Manorhamilton, and the result of these collection of data, she makes these sort of linear constructions, and these smaller, I think I have it here, smaller, these smaller works, but this as well, you can see it's like more gestural, but rhythmic diagrammatic drawings, and to represent the particular weather patterns over time in that particular place. And her weather station was also in this exhibition here displayed in the gallery window, and it provided live updates on the local weather as it's changed, and it's actually still there. So the weather station that's there in Bonn recorded the weather in Bonn specifically. It's quite interesting. This is my work. So my work is more, I guess, because I'm dealing with spatialized emotions, has more to do with how it affects us on our everyday experience in our felt bodies. So this work, whether it's all of the collages in Bonn there, this work, the stop motion animation, all of the work begins with a drawing in situ. And I was speaking a little earlier on about the drawing in space methodology that I've devised, and it all starts with drawing in situ, and I record sounds, I record the wind, I record birds, I record the bats, whatever it might be, as a way of listening, until I get to a point where I record something that doesn't feel like it feels like a feeling, but not a feeling that belongs to me. And I guess this idea of subjectivity is really important in my work, in that yes, it's me drawing it, but the subjectivity that I'm talking about is not to do with me as in Kiera O'Toole, but the fact that I'm a body, I guess. So my work is very embodied. It's more to do with, I'm interested in the lived experience, the tiny fraction of a second before we identify something as and for ourselves. So for instance, if we have a...
okay.
Yeah. Kiera, can I just say, can you explain the scale of this work? Because the works behind Sybil are all really small scale.
Oh, yeah.
This one is huge. It's almost physically the same size as the person. I always feel that when I'm up beside it.
It's quite big. I actually can't remember. I think it's like 6 foot by 4 foot or something like that. I can't remember.
I would guess 4 or 5 foot, 6 by 6.
Yeah, it is quite big. Yeah. Like I don't normally make small work, so that's the collages are like only because of the residency, I never would have made collages before. I've never made collages before. I guess. So yeah, this is the video writ large, that's the one that's there in Bonn, but this is how I presented it in Leitrim. And this is what I call the felt map, the drawing that records the feeling, I guess. This is a smaller video recording that. There's just an overview, a different angle. This is a plastic image, a representation of one of these plastic image. Oh, there it is there, sorry. From Mary-Ruth, there's the bat. This is a close-up of Mary-Ruth's work. This garage actually was right beside where the gallery was. Absolutely stunning. There's another sort of overview, and you could see actually the size of the drawing there, much larger. And that's a close-up of Mary-Ruth's work. Absolutely stunning. And these are drawings that she created on the light boxes. So yeah, so that was Atmosphäres 1, and Atmosphäres 2 kind of continues to that, and so hence Atmosphäres 3, funnily enough. But how Atmosphäres 3 will develop, I'm not sure. We did have a residency in Hamburg in May, and work has developed from that, and then we had Bonn. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with our work as it progresses, but yeah, it'll be really interesting.
because each iteration has new work, some of which responds to the new situation for sure.
Yeah.
So each iteration has to take on some of the attributes of the atmospheres of that place where it's being shown.
So the work behind you, actually, Sybil, the one with the white drawing with the little black dots, they're drawings from the oldest Jewish graveyard in Hamburg. Very beautiful place. So I have in my work, like, I document wherever I am through drawing, but also photographs, and they inform that work there.
Interesting. Yeah.
Mary-Ruth, you wanted to join in to?
No, not necessarily. No, just that I think that it's exciting that we can do different works and present different works, and sometimes they're quite radical, and then afterwards they look like, you know, a very sensible continuity of your work practice. But it's really challenging to explore the different residencies and spaces, and it puts you in a position where, as I say, you've got this time and space, and you've concentrated, so it's quite brilliant, really. Yeah. So what's going to happen in Atmosphäre 3, I don't know.
But in fact, what it is that we kind of realized we were kind of trying to figure out things, like, I guess we got to know our work, each other's work over time, and then we kind of realized that they were all concerned with these atmospheres of one kind or another. And they've evolved over time, and it wasn't exactly like we chose a theme and fitted our work into it, like the other way around. So and then we came up with these words that seem to kind of zoom out a little from it and have a kind of more philosophical overview of maybe the kind of different kinds of atmospheres we were exploring, kind of like phenomenological, scientific, architectural, so all kind of different layers. It builds up kind of a complex picture, hopefully, you know, in the end. And is kind of, you know, inbuilt into our practices. I suppose there are other ways we could look at our practice. We could look at our practice as a line or something, and we could put another entire umbrella over it. But that was the one we kind of came up with.
Shall we open up maybe a little bit? I mean, we have sort of an audience here, and maybe there are some questions that sort of evolved or popped up. So,
go for it.
Irgendwelche Fragen, jemand, der etwas wissen möchte über also das, was wir jetzt ein bisschen gesprochen haben?
Mich würde der Alltag interessieren. How do you
understand her?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
How do you do your art in daily life? So now this was the weeks when you are in the residence. This is extraordinary, but how is it when you work on your own? How do you keep connected, and how do you go on every day, or how is your week?
Well, I'm sitting in video, so I'll take that one. I'm a lecturer in the College of Art and Design in Dublin, so but it's not too far away from my studio. So I can actually be working, I have to go to work 2 days a week, and the other 3 I can be here. And we don't see that much of each other. Like, I just work away on my own thing. But we will be on Zoom with each other maybe once a month or so. And we might say, I've done this new thing, what do you think? But it would be over Zoom. So mostly we're working away at our own thing, and just quite, I think we're pretty disciplined, actually, all of us, because we are showing quite regularly with drawing DeCentred, and not like on our own as well in other contexts. Does anyone else want to take that?
No, I think you have to be disciplined. Absolutely. I mean, I think I get exhibitions just so I can be disciplined, because I don't know if I would be otherwise.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's part and parcel of it, and it's and I think sometimes though you get a good run, and it is a genuine thing that if you can get a run or an idea and it's fresh, and if you leave that too long, if you're busy working in college or busy, which I'm actually, I took a year out from teaching, which I really enjoyed, but I was actually getting on with my own practice to such an extent that I didn't go back to college. So I don't know whether it's a good thing. It's very positive from my point of view, because I can really put time and energy into the work that I'm making. And if you do get an idea and can run with it, it's sometimes these things are, and it's not just kind of art talk, sometimes these things are quite fragile, and you have to hold them and capture them and sort of look after them and nurture them. And if you can't get into the studio to do that, it gets thinner and thinner, and by the time you go back to the studio, if it's too long, it's you can't catch that thread again. So there is an important thing about even just regularly getting into the studio, even if you're just taking notes and you're not physically actually making work. But the other part of the studio is I think that a lot of people don't realize, and I hope I'm not speaking too fast there, but is the amount of background work to the actual physical making. The physical making is where you just get so immersed and so challenged and so in your zone. And it's one of those places it's an incredible space to be, but it's the part that's hardest is the backup, the all the writing and the various things you have to do. Yeah, the academic side of it. Yeah, it's good. A lot of it's very good, and you learn so much, but there's a lot of work behind.
I think it's really important as well to follow your gut, even if you think it's just bananas. So like one day I just had a feeling that I needed to draw this abstract drawing on this concrete structure. And that actually became the basis of my PhD that I didn't know I was going to do. But it also became I went to a conference with it. I had a book chapter out of it. I had several exhibitions out of it, and like it just kind of took legs. But had I said it's too bananas, it's too crazy, I can't do this, and doubted myself, it never would have happened. So
Kiera, is that your lovely one that's on the water, the rectangle one? It's really good. Yeah. It's concrete structure,
yeah. So I definitely think, and I was looking around me going that I can't see other people are doing what I'm doing, so it's just, should I not be doing that? Do you know what I mean? So, but I do think you just have to follow your own gut and follow your own visual language, whatever that might be, and whatever makes you happy in the moment, just do it and figure it out later if it's good or not. But I think just do it.
Does that answer the question of how do we? Yeah, we work on our own an awful lot, and it's only
we do.
Yeah, is that kind of an answer to the question?
Yeah, great. Yeah,
great. Okay, a long answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything you wanted to add? I mean, I think we're sort of coming to the end of the conversation, and we shouldn't stretch the attention level too much. But maybe, I don't know, maybe we left out something, or maybe...
I just thank you, Sybil, as well. Like, thank you. It was lovely to work with you. Yeah, it's a beautiful gallery, and thank you for everything. And it was really good to have your input into how the work should be presented together that maybe we wouldn't have thought about before in that particular way. So that was really interesting for us. And it was lovely to be there in your beautiful house. Lovely thing.
It was just wonderful to have you here and to see this very inspiring dynamic that you have among each other, how you are dealing with each other, how you're exchanging, how you are developing your works, and in the end exhibitions. So I thought that's a real great thing you have there created, with sort of meeting each other and keeping this kind of connection and trying to sort of work on it and keep it moving. That's it's cool to see.
Good. Great.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Sybil. Great. It's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I thank you. So I think we come to an end, and I'm sort of sad that it's the last day of your exhibition, but I hope we will see you again sometime. So
Yes. Okay. Thank you very
Hey.
much.
Indeed.
thank you
Bye.
for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.